What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be walking you through how to make aesthetic rap for people like 1nonly, Shady Moon, Gryton, all those guys. So first, go to YouTube, search up City Pop samples. I went through this playlist and I landed on the second one because I honestly haven't heard this before and I thought that it would be a great sample. So you go ahead and download that. I'd use this website right here so I can download it as a wave, which gives you the least quality loss, or you can do an FLAC, which does the same exact thing. And then you want to go into your DAW and have the sample. I decided on this loop, which is just the intro and then the first verse, and it sounds like this with no effects. Alright, pretty simple stuff. And then this is what it sounds like with effects. Much different. So I'm gonna quickly run through what I did to get the sound. So for the intro, we have one EQ. We also have this same EQ for the break and the outro. So for this EQ, we're taking out pretty much all the highs and all the lows, and we're leaving some because, of course, it wouldn't sound like anything if we didn't. And we're bringing down the mids to give it a more washed out, vintage sound. And then we go for like the main, for like the chorus and all that. For these right here and these right here, we have a second EQ that brings in more highs, more mids, more lows. And then we have vinyl distortion, which you could probably hear it a little bit, is the crackling sound in the background. And we also have vinyl by Isotope, which you could use vinyl distortion and vinyl by Isotope interchangeably. And this one's a free plugin, so if you don't have Ableton, I would definitely recommend this. But I use them together because I feel like it gives me a little bit of a better sound. And then we have an auto filter right here, which is off right here. As you can see, the device is off and only here for the the break and the outro. And what we did is we cut off a bunch of the frequencies, so it's going to sound super, like, you're not going to hear very much until it gets up here right before the drop again. And then as the outro goes, we just cut that down to 0, so it's like a little bit of a fade out. And I'll give you a quick listen right here. Alright, you can see how that sounds. And it sounds pretty cool in my opinion. And then we have some light reverb. This is another free plugin. I literally just left it alone because it doesn't add too much, because I wanted to go hard with the Ableton reverb. But before we get to that, we have a compressor right here. And what I did with this compressor is, here, let me just bring you to a quick little section. You can see that I cut out most of the peaks because I didn't want it to, with the vinyl distortion, I didn't want it to hurt your ears and all that shit because it would peak a lot. And then we do have some out. We added 2 out because the peaks gave it some volume, but we don't want the peaks, but we still want some volume, so we just add some volume. And then for reverb, we have a low cut and high cut, so it matches our EQ, and then we have low diffusion and high diffusion, again, so it matches our EQ. Then we want the stereo all the way up so it fills up your ears. Put a little bit extra on the decay. It starts at 1.2, but we want a little bit extra. And then turn down the dry and wet a little bit so that you bring it forward a little bit more and it's not as far back, so it's still in the main, your ears will definitely hear it, you know. Speaking of stereo and width, we have a utility and we put that 200% so it fills up your ears. We put a little bit gain, and then we have a limiter with a little bit more gain, but we put -2 on this one so that the sample doesn't go above -2 decibels, because I want the main focus to be the bass and the percussion. And then I'm sure you can hear it, but we have sidechain, which is sidechain to the kick. I feel like this is very important to get that punchy feeling from the kick. And you don't have to use kickstart. I just find it easy that way. One method that I used for a long time is you can auto filter it and sidechain it to the kick, or you can use track volume and just do that, and then when it hits the kick, just duck it down and it'll bring back in. But I prefer sidechain, or I mean kickstart for my sidechain, but you don't have to use it. There's other ways to do it. And then that moves us on to our bass, which sounds like this with no effects. Alright, it doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound good either. So we put on saturator, and again, this is sidechain to the kick, and then we put on utility with more width, and now this is what it sounds like. It hits a lot harder, and like you may be thinking like it doesn't punch though, but that's why we sidechained it to the kick. Because look at this. This is already all the punch we need, and if we sidechain it to the 808, it's going to give that 808 punch. And here's what it sounds like together with the 808 and all the percussion. I'm just going to go ahead and mute that real quick. It hits very hard. And then speaking of the other percussion, it's just some simple hi-hats, open hats, and then some claps, and then a little bit of a perk with some reverb. And for these hi-hats, I put vocal doubler by Isotope on it. It kind of gives it like, I don't know, it just kind of sounds nice. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I saw it in someone's beat making like tutorial once where they were doing some funk, and it just like sounded really nice. This is what it sounds like without it. This is what it sounds like with it. It's kind of like a little like delay or reverb, but like it doesn't have like that far away feeling, you know? I really like it. And then again, just some simple open hats and claps right here, and then some perks. And then for this open hat right here, I reverbed it in and I reverbed it out. So you reverb it in, and then you want to reverse it for the drop, and it just reverbs out like that. And this is what it sounds like. Doesn't sound like much, but in the beat, you'll definitely be able to hear it, and it makes a difference. And then you want to do it right here for the drop again for the second verse. And a little tip, or a little something that I do, I'm not sure how many people do it, but for the drop to make it hit harder, I always take a kick from here, put it here, reverse it, and then I cut out the little section where the waveform of the kick is hitting, and it makes the drop hit a lot harder. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole beat. Let's listen to it.